What happens when a famously reserved Hollywood leading man decides to stop dodging the uncomfortable questions and answers one with brutal honesty? On live television, right in front of Sunny Hostin, no less. Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. Joy Behar is mid-sentence when the camera widens, the familiar morning show buzz settling in. "All right, we're back," she says, shuffling her cards, glancing sideways at the guest couch. "Our next guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway." A ripple of applause rolls through the audience. Actor, producer, musician, internet boyfriend. The crowd laughs. Ryan Gosling is here. Ryan smiles politely, that half-shy, half-aware smile he's known for, nodding as he stands briefly, waving once before sitting back down. "Thank you," he says, leaning toward the table. "That was a lot." Whoopi Goldberg chuckles. "You earned it, baby." Sunny Hostin is already leaning forward, hands folded, eyes focused. She's smiling, but it's the professional smile, pleasant, alert, ready. "Ryan, it's really good to have you here," she says. "You've had an incredible year." "Thank you," Ryan replies. "It's been busy." Joy jumps in quickly. "Busy is an understatement. I mean, everywhere I turn, you're there. Movies, interviews, memes, my grandson knows who you are." Ryan laughs softly. That's slightly terrifying. The audience laughs with him. It's comfortable. Easy. For a moment. Sunny tilts her head. "I want to talk about something you said recently," she begins, glancing down at her notes. "You mentioned in an interview that you're feeling more cautious about the roles you take, especially when it comes to representation and responsibility." Ryan nods slowly. "Yeah, I think that's fair." Sunny continues, her tone measured. "Some people heard that and felt you were distancing yourself from certain conversations, social conversations, that actors are expected to engage in now." Ryan's smile fades just a touch. Not gone, just adjusted. "Okay." Whoopi raises an eyebrow, sensing the shift. "Go on, Sunny." Sunny looks directly at Ryan. "Do you feel like you've benefited from the system without really challenging it? And now that you're being asked to speak up more clearly, you're pulling back." There's a murmur in the audience. Not loud, but noticeable. Ryan takes a breath. You can see him thinking, not rushing, not reacting. Joy leans in. "That's a big question for 10 in the morning." Ryan lets out a small exhale. "It is," he says. "And I want to answer it honestly." Sunny nods. "That's all I'm asking." Ryan folds his hands together, elbows resting lightly on his knees. "I don't think I've ever pulled back from responsibility," he says. "I think I've pulled back from pretending I have answers I don't." The audience reacts, some applause, some quiet sounds. Sunny doesn't move. "But silence can be a privilege," she says calmly. "Especially when people look like you, sound like you, have the platform you have." Whoopi interjects. "That part is true." Ryan nods again. "I agree with that. I really do. But here's where I think things get complicated, and I know this might not land well with everyone." Joy looks up. "Oh." Ryan smiles briefly, then continues. "There's this idea now that if you don't say the right thing immediately, publicly, and perfectly, then you're part of the problem. And I don't think that actually helps the problem." Sunny's expression tightens just slightly. "So what has helped, Ryan?" "Listening," he says without hesitation. "And doing work that aligns with what you believe instead of performing beliefs because you're expected to." The audience applauds louder this time. Sunny waits for it to die down. "But listening without speaking," Sunny counters, "can look a lot like opting out." Ryan looks at her directly now. No smile. No defensiveness either. Just steady. "I don't think it's opting out to admit that sometimes the loudest voices aren't the most informed, including mine." There's an audible intake of breath from somewhere in the crowd. Joy glances between them. "Okay, but Ryan, people would say, you're not exactly uninformed." Ryan shrugs slightly. "I'm informed about my experience. I'm not an expert on everyone else's." Sunny presses. "But when issues affect real people in real ways, when silence feels like indifference, don't you think it's fair to expect more?" Ryan pauses longer this time. The room is quiet. Even the audience seems to sense something heavier settling in. "I think it's fair to expect honesty," he says finally. "And here's the honest part." Sunny's eyes stay locked on him. "I've been in rooms where people say all the right things on camera," Ryan continues, his voice calm but firmer now, "and do absolutely nothing when the cameras are gone. I don't want to be that guy." A ripple of reaction spreads, some applause, some surprised laughter, some murmurs. Whoopi nods slowly. "I've seen that. Sunny lifts a hand slightly. But that doesn't answer the question of accountability. Ryan leans back a little, then forward again, like he's deciding whether to step fully into it. Okay, he says. Here's the part that might shock you. The audience leans in almost collectively. I don't think actors are leaders, Ryan says. I think we're entertainers who sometimes get confused for moral authorities because we're visible. There it is. The shift. The air changes. Sunny's eyebrows rise. You don't think you have a responsibility? I think I have a responsibility to not pretend I'm more important than I am, Ryan replies. And I think the pressure to comment on everything can actually drown out voices that need to be heard more than mine. The audience reaction is split. Applause clashes with a few audible gasps. Joy jumps in quickly. Well, Twitter is not going to like that. Ryan gives a small, resigned smile. Twitter rarely likes honesty. Sunny's smile is gone now. She sits back, arms crossing loosely, not defensive but firm. That sounds a lot like stepping away from the mess while benefiting from the spotlight. Ryan meets her gaze. No, it sounds like refusing to confuse visibility with value. Whoopi lets out a low. Sunny leans forward again. So when fans look to you, when marginalized people want allies with power, you're saying, what? Look elsewhere. Ryan answers without hesitation. I'm saying look to people who live it. Amplify them. I'll support, I'll fund, I'll listen. But I'm not going to perform outrage just to prove I'm one of the good ones. The audience explodes into mixed reaction, applause, murmurs, a few boos. Joy raises her hands. All right, clearly we hit something. Sunny's voice is steady but sharp now. You don't think refusing to speak is a luxury? Ryan's jaw tightens, just a little. I think speaking without substance is a bigger one. The tension hangs there, unresolved, raw, real. As the camera slowly pulls back, capturing the hosts, the guest, and an audience fully awake now, knowing this conversation is only just beginning. Sunny doesn't look away. The audience is still reacting. Some clapping, some shaking heads, a low hum of conversation that Joy immediately tries to rein in. All right, everybody, let's let them talk, Joy says, tapping her cards on the table. Because clearly, this is hitting nerves. Ryan exhales through his nose, not irritated, but grounded, like someone who expected this moment. Sunny straightens in her chair. Ryan, she says, measured but firm, I want to be very clear. No one is asking you to perform outrage. What people are asking for is acknowledgement. And when someone with your platform says, I'm not a leader, it can feel dismissive to people who don't get the option to step back. Ryan nods slowly. I hear that. But do you really? Sunny presses. Because it sounds like you're saying the expectation itself is unfair. Whoopi leans in. This is where it gets tricky. Ryan glances briefly at Whoopi, then back to Sunny. I think the expectation is understandable, he says. I also think it's misplaced. The audience murmurs again. Sunny raises her eyebrows. Misplaced how? Because we're rewarding visibility instead of impact, Ryan says. And that's not justice, that's optics. A sharp oh ripples through the crowd. Joy winces playfully. Ryan came caffeinated today. Ryan cracks a quick smile, but it fades as Sunny responds. Optics matter when people feel unseen, Sunny says. Visibility is often the first step. Ryan nods. Absolutely. But it can't be the last one. Sunny leans back slightly, studying him. So let me ask you this. When a major issue happens, something that affects millions, and fans wait to hear from you, do you feel any obligation at all to say something publicly? Ryan pauses. This time, the silence stretches longer. Yes, he says finally. I feel the pressure. Sunny tilts her head. That's not what I asked. Ryan meets her gaze. Okay, then my answer is, I feel the obligation to act responsibly, not reflexively. The audience claps, but it's not universal. Sunny's voice tightens just a notch. Responsibly according to who? According to my conscience, Ryan says. And the people actually doing the work. Sunny shakes her head slightly. That answer sounds good, she says, but it avoids the reality that silence from powerful figures has historically protected the status quo. Ryan's expression hardens, not angry but resolute. And noise from powerful figures has historically replaced real voices. Whoopi lets out a low laugh. Lord, this is a tennis match. Joy jumps in. Ryan, I want to jump off Sunny's point for a second. Do you worry that by not speaking, you're letting others define the narrative for you? Ryan nods. All the time. So why not take control of it? Joy asks. Because the narrative shouldn't be about me, Ryan replies. That's the part that feels wrong. Sunny leans forward again. But it is about you when your absence is felt. Ryan looks genuinely conflicted for a moment. Then maybe that says more about our culture than about me. The audience reacts, louder now. A few people clap aggressively. Someone audibly says, "Wow." Sunny's eyes narrow slightly. So now it's cultural? Ryan doesn't flinch. Yes. Joy looks straight into the camera. Twitter is typing as we speak. Whoopi nods slowly. But Ryan, let me ask you this, because I get where you're coming from. But when you say actors aren't leaders, do you understand how that sounds to people who've watched artists move history? Ryan turns toward Whoopi, grateful for the shift but not the escape. I do, and I respect that history deeply. Then why reject the title so strongly? Whoopi asks. Because leadership without accountability is branding, Ryan says. And I don't want to sell morality. A loud mix of applause and gasps hits the room. Sunny inhales sharply. No one is asking you to sell morality. But we are asking celebrities to package it, Ryan responds. Into statements, posts, hashtags, apologies. And I think that cheapens the cause. Sunny's voice rises slightly. Or it normalizes support. Ryan counters immediately. Or it normalizes performative allyship. The word lands heavy. The audience reacts strongly, half applauding, half audibly disagreeing. Joy raises her voice. Okay, hold on, Sunny. Sunny holds up a finger. No, Joy, let me finish. Ryan sits back, allowing it. You keep using the word performative, Sunny says. And I agree that exists. But you're lumping together people who speak badly with people who speak bravely. Ryan nods. That's fair. And by choosing not to speak, Sunny continues, you're also making a choice, one that affects how people perceive your values. Ryan looks at her, serious. I'm okay with being misunderstood if it means I'm being honest. The audience goes quiet for a beat. Joy blinks. That's a bold stance. Sunny leans closer. Even if it disappoints people who believed you stood with them? Ryan's jaw tightens. I would rather disappoint than deceive. A sharp reaction explodes from the crowd. Applause louder than before, mixed with a few boos. Whoopi raises both hands. All right. Let's breathe. Sunny exhales, shaking her head slightly. You're basically saying you don't owe anyone clarity. Ryan responds calmly. I owe people integrity. Sunny's voice softens just a fraction. And who decides what that looks like? I do, Ryan says. Just like everyone else should for themselves. The audience buzz grows louder. Joy looks down at her cards, then back up. This is one of those conversations where nobody's wrong, but nobody's fully right either. Sunny doesn't smile. I disagree. I think responsibility scales with power. Ryan nods slowly. And I think power without humility becomes harm. Whoopi lets out a long sigh. Lord help us. Sunny turns fully toward Ryan now. So let me ask you directly. If someone watching right now, someone struggling, feeling unseen, asks you, Ryan, are you with us? What do you say? Ryan doesn't answer immediately. His eyes flick briefly toward the audience, then back to Sunny. I say, I'm not your voice, he says carefully. But I'm listening. The reaction is instant and intense. Applause erupts, but it's fractured, layered with audible dissent. Sunny nods slowly, but her eyes show she's not satisfied. Listening is passive. Ryan leans forward again. Not when it leads to action. And what action? Sunny asks. Ryan opens his mouth, then stops himself. That's the part one don't publicize. Joy lets out a small laugh. That's convenient. Ryan turns to her. Or it's intentional. The tension is thick now, no smiles, no jokes. Just a table full of people grappling with something real. Sunny folds her hands together. So you want credit for work no one can see. Ryan shakes his head. I don't want credit at all. Then why defend yourself so hard? Sunny asks. Ryan's voice drops, steady but unmistakably firm. Because silence doesn't mean absence. And I'm tired of pretending it does. The audience reacts loudly, some standing, some shaking heads. The camera catches Sunny's expression, thoughtful, unconvinced but engaged. Joy looks straight ahead. We're going to take a quick break, she says quickly, sensing the boiling point. But when we come back, this conversation is not over. The audience applauds, louder now, buzzing with energy as the camera fades, leaving the tension unresolved and very much alive. The camera comes back up to applause that's louder than before, the kind that isn't polite, it's charged. Joy is smiling, but her eyes say she knows exactly what she's dealing with. We are back, she says. Clearly, we struck a nerve. The audience laughs and claps again. Ryan adjusts slightly in his seat, rolling his shoulders once, like someone bracing for round two. Sunny sits upright, composed, but there's a different energy now. Less probing, more pointed. I want to continue where we left off, Sunny says immediately. Because this isn't theoretical for people watching. Ryan nods. I understand that. Sunny doesn't soften. You say you don't want credit. You say you act privately. But you're here, on a public platform, defending your silence very publicly. The audience murmurs. Ryan gives a small nod. Because I was asked. Sunny responds quickly. And you agreed to come. Ryan smiles faintly. Yes. To talk. Not to posture. Joy interjects. Okay, but Ryan, you have to admit, this sounds like a luxury position. I don't need to say anything. You'll just have to trust me. That's tough for people who've been burned by silence. Ryan takes a breath. I know. Whoopi leans forward, elbows on the table. Let me ask you something straight. Are you uncomfortable being challenged on this? Ryan shakes his head immediately. No. I'm uncomfortable being miscast. Sunny's eyes narrow slightly. Miscast as what? As indifferent, Ryan says. As disengaged. As someone who doesn't care. Sunny tilts her head. But intent doesn't erase impact. Ryan nods. True. But assumptions don't erase reality. The audience reacts, mixed again but loud. Joy presses her lips together. Ryan, you keep talking about reality. Let's talk about perception. You've been very careful your entire career. Rare interviews, controlled access. Do you think that contributes to people feeling shut out? Ryan considers that. Probably. So isn't this just an extension of that? Joy asks. Distance disguised as principle? Ryan looks genuinely thoughtful. I think distance protects my work, he says. And sometimes my family. But I don't think it protects me from responsibility. Sunny jumps in. Yet here we are. Ryan meets her gaze. Because responsibility doesn't always look like performance. Sunny sighs, audible into her mic. You keep saying performance like it's inherently bad. Ryan responds calmly. I think it's dangerous when it replaces substance. The audience claps sharply. Sunny raises her hand slightly. But sometimes performance opens the door to substance. Ryan nods. Sometimes. Sunny leans forward. And sometimes silence closes it. That lands. The audience quiets for a moment. Ryan looks down briefly, then back up. Can I say something that might sound uncomfortable? Joy chuckles nervously. At this point, why stop? Ryan looks straight ahead. I think we've created a culture where saying nothing is considered worse than saying something wrong. And that scares people into talking before they understand. Sunny responds immediately. Or it pushes people to care sooner. Ryan shakes his head gently. Or it creates fear instead of empathy. Whoopi hums low. That's not wrong. Sunny turns toward Whoopi. But fear has moved people before. Yeah, Whoopi says. And it's also hurt a lot of folks. The audience reacts, some nodding, some murmuring disagreement. Sunny turns back to Ryan. Let me ask you this differently. Do you believe public figures owe transparency to the people who support them? Ryan answers quickly. I believe we owe honesty. That's not the same thing, Sunny says. I know, Ryan replies. Transparency can be selective. Honesty is harder. Joy laughs softly. That's a quote. Ryan smiles briefly, then continues. I don't want to curate my values in a way that makes them palatable. I want them to be real, even if they're messy. Sunny crosses her arms. Messy values still affect people. Ryan nods. So do neat lies. A wave of reaction hits the audience, this time heavier applause. Joy looks between them. Okay, Ryan, but here's the thing. You're very articulate about why you don't speak. You've clearly thought this through. Why not share that thinking sooner, before people filled in the blanks? Ryan exhales. Because every time you explain yourself, it becomes about you again. Sunny gestures outward. It already is. Ryan gives a small, rueful smile. Exactly. The audience laughs, then quiets. Sunny's voice softens slightly, not conceding, but recalibrating. I don't think you're indifferent, she says. I think you're cautious. Ryan nods. That's fair. But caution, Sunny continues, can feel like abandonment to people who need allies to show up loudly. Ryan responds gently. And loud allies can overshadow the people they're trying to support. Sunny pauses. That one slows her. Joy senses it. This is where it gets real. Sunny looks at Ryan closely. Do you trust the audience to understand nuance? Ryan shakes his head slightly. I trust them more than the algorithm. Laughter breaks out across the studio. Whoopi smiles. Amen. Sunny cracks a small smile, but she keeps going. But people don't experience life in nuance when they're hurting. Ryan's voice drops. Neither do I. The room quiets. I've seen real pain, Ryan continues. Up close. Not from headlines, from people I know. And I learned early that talking about it publicly doesn't always help them. Sometimes it helps me feel better. And I don't want that. Sunny listens now, really listens. So you're afraid of centering yourself, she says. Yes, Ryan replies. Constantly. The audience murmurs, this time more empathetic than divided. Joy nods slowly. That's honest. Sunny exhales. But do you see how that fear can still cost others? Ryan nods. Every choice costs someone something. Sunny sits back. That's a heavy thing to accept. It is, Ryan says. But pretending otherwise feels worse. Whoopi leans back, crossing her arms. I think what's bothering people is not that you don't care. It's that you won't reassure them. Ryan looks at her. Reassurance without truth is manipulation. The audience gasps softly, then applause builds again. Sunny shakes her head, half smiling, half frustrated. You're very good with words. Ryan smiles apologetically. It's my job. Joy jumps in quickly. Okay, before this turns into a philosophy seminar. Sunny, do you feel like he's answered you? Sunny pauses. The audience waits. I think he's answered himself, she says slowly. I'm not sure he's answered the people watching. Ryan nods. That's fair. Sunny looks at him. Do you care if they walk away disappointed? Ryan answers quietly. I care. I just won't lie to prevent it. A hush falls over the room. No applause this time, just stillness. Joy clears her throat. When we come back, she says, we're going to talk about the fallout, because whether Ryan likes it or not, this conversation is going to have one. The audience claps again, louder now, knowing exactly what she means as the camera pulls back and the tension lingers, unresolved and impossible to ignore. The applause when the camera comes back is loud, uneven, charged. Not celebratory, reactive. Joy looks straight into the lens for a beat longer than usual before turning back to the table. All right, she says, exhaling. We're back. And I think it's fair to say, this conversation has already left the building. The audience laughs, some clapping harder than others. Sunny sits upright, hands folded. Her tone is calmer now, but there's weight behind it. Ryan, I want to bring this home, she says, because we can debate philosophy all day. But this show reaches people who don't have the luxury of abstraction. Ryan nods. I know. Sunny looks him straight on. If you had to say one thing, one sentence, to the person watching who feels unheard, unseen, and disappointed right now, what would it be? The studio goes quiet. Even Joy doesn't jump in. Ryan takes a breath. I'd say, I see you, he says slowly. I'm not speaking over you. And I'm not walking away. Some applause breaks out. Not explosive. Steady. Sunny nods, but doesn't smile. That helps, she says honestly. But I still think visibility matters. Ryan doesn't argue. And I still think it needs to be earned carefully. Whoopi leans forward. I think what's happening here, she says, is two truths bumping into each other. And people don't like that. The audience reacts, applause nods. Joy jumps in. And the internet really doesn't like that. Laughter ripples across the room. Sunny exhales. Ryan, I'll say this, she says. I don't agree with everything you've said today, but I believe you're being sincere. Ryan nods. That means a lot. But sincerity doesn't shield impact, Sunny adds. I know, Ryan replies quietly. There's a pause. Not tense this time, reflective. Joy looks around the table. I think we've done what daytime television rarely does, she says. We didn't wrap it in a bow. The audience applauds. Whoopi smiles faintly. And nobody flipped a table. That's growth. Laughter breaks the heaviness. Joy turns to Ryan. Last thing, are you surprised by how intense this got? Ryan smiles, a little tired now. I knew what I was walking into, he says. I just didn't know how honest I'd end up being. Sunny looks at him. Sometimes honesty creates more questions than answers. Ryan nods. I'm okay with that. Joy faces the camera. Well, she says, you're all going to have opinions. And we want to hear them. The audience claps as the show wraps. When the credits roll, the energy in the room doesn't fade. People are still talking. Audience members leaning toward each other, producers whispering behind the cameras. Ryan stands, shaking hands with the hosts. Sunny and Ryan exchange a brief, quiet word. No microphones, no smiles for the cameras, just mutual acknowledgement. Backstage, staffers are already looking at their phones. Within minutes, clips from the exchange start circulating. Short, sharp cuts, Ryan saying, "Actors aren't leaders." Sunny responding, "Responsibility scales with power." Whoopi's two truths line. Joy's reaction shots. By the time Ryan reaches his car, Ryan Gosling is trending. Online, the reaction is immediate and split. Some praise him for refusing to perform. Finally, a celebrity who admits they don't have all the answers. "That was the most honest thing I've heard on daytime TV in years." Others are furious. Silence is privilege. He talked in circles to justify doing nothing. Disappointed doesn't even cover it. Clips rack up millions of views in hours. Hashtags form on both sides. Comment sections become battlegrounds. Sunny addresses it later that afternoon on social media, not walking back her stance, but clarifying it. Honesty matters. So does accountability. Conversations like this are uncomfortable, but necessary. Whoopi posts a shorter message. Sometimes growth sounds like disagreement. Joy, ever Joy, tweets, "Well, that escalated." Ryan doesn't post anything. That silence becomes its own headline. Entertainment shows debate whether he won or lost the exchange. Commentators argue about celebrity responsibility. Some defend him. Others say the bar is too low. Behind the scenes, sources say the conversation ran longer than planned. Producers hadn't expected the intensity, but they also know the clip will live far beyond the episode. Days later, Ryan is spotted at a low-key event supporting a cause he's never publicly spoken about. No statement, no photo op, just presence. It doesn't go viral, but people notice. Sunny is asked about the moment in another interview. She doesn't soften her critique, but she doesn't attack him either. "We don't need agreement," she says. "We need engagement." Audience members who were there say it felt different. Less like a segment, more like a reckoning. Some say they walked out frustrated. Others say they felt seen for the first time in a while. Most agree on one thing: it felt real. And that's why the conversation doesn't fade. It keeps resurfacing in podcasts, panels, comment threads, whenever the question comes up again. What do we expect from the people we put on pedestals? Ryan never clarifies. Sunny never retracts. The moment stands exactly as it happened, messy, unresolved, human. Now it's your turn. What did you think about Ryan Gosling's brutal honesty? Was he right to refuse performative statements? Or did he dodge responsibility? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.